Jai Gurudev. So, I want to talk about a character, it's not really a character, a part of the Narasimha Līlā that is very underrepresented or underrated, which is the pillar. I want to talk about the pillar that Narasimha breaks out of. It's the real star of the show. It's not really, I'm joking. So the pillar is, it has two things that it represents for me. Firstly, from the eyes of Hiranyakashipu, and secondly, from the eyes of Prahlad. From the eyes of Prahlad, the pillar is just the outer sheath for what is inside. What he's interested in is, of course, what is inside. For Hiranyakashipu, he cannot see what's inside, he cannot believe what is inside, and only sees what is outside. So these very simple two opposing views, when you see the surface or when you see the depth. What you see empirically or what you feel in your heart. We have a tendency often, the ego has the tendency to look for proofs of everything. It needs the evidence. It needs the concrete outcomes, concrete things. And the problem with this is that in doing so, in demanding that, in looking for it, in prioritizing it, we often miss what lies beneath the surface. The easiest example to use for that, of course, in this world is beauty. We value external, surface level beauty so much. And in turn, we automatically diminish the value of things that don't have that external, surface level beauty. And one of the things that I learned from Guruji was when choosing fruit at the supermarket. Guruji loves going to fruit markets, one of his favorite things to do. And then he goes there and he critiques the fruit. In Mauritius, it's better. That's the opening line always. And from there, it starts the conversation. But first we establish, right, the supremacy of Mauritian fruit. The only place he doesn't say that is in the homeland of Brazil. Right there, he'll be like, as good. Not better, but same level, right? But often he'll be there with people that are not fruit connoisseurs. And they'll say, oh, Guruji, look at this one. This one looks lovely. And he's like, it looks lovely, but it's not. Okay? You have to know what to look for. You have to know the fruit. And then you know that although it looks like this on the outside, inside, it's not the best flavor. Right? So then he says, look at that one there that has all the sort of blemishes and the whatever. That's the good one right there. Right? He speaks like this because he knows. He has knowledge of what's inside. But for one who doesn't have the knowledge of what lies beneath the surface, how do we tend to live our lives? By surface appearance. What looks good is what we're going to call good and what we're going to pursue. This is why this world lives on presentation, perception, appearance, marketing, whatever you want to call it. The better I can package whatever it is I'm trying to sell you, the more likely you're going to take it. And then you'll only find out what it actually is further down the road once you've already paid me. But then it's too late. I've already walked away with what I needed. All right? Maya is the same. All Maya has to do is tempt you. It doesn't have to hold you. It just has to tempt you with something attractive, something that looks good. Eventually, you might find out that it's not actually good, but by then it's already prepared its next package to present to you. And on it goes. And we have the stubbornness to think that the reason the first one didn't work is because we did it wrong, and if we just show up differently the second time, it will work. The fire is the perfect example of this. If someone tells you, don't put your hand in the fire, it will burn. You nod, but really, beneath the surface, you want to put your hand in the fire to test the theory for yourself. So this is what happens. You put the hand in the fire, oh, it burns. But the ego is so tricky that it will think, well, maybe I put my hand in the fire the wrong way. Maybe next time I'll put it this way, and then it won't hurt. Then that hurts too. And you go, maybe this way, maybe this way, maybe this way, or this way. And then you go each finger, and you keep going. And this is how we work in the world. You do something, someone told you, oh, but nothing great comes from that. Yeah, but I'm different. You do it, you get the same outcome as everyone else, and next time. Eventually, you've tried every single way, and then you become what we call wise. But it's a wisdom born out of repeated error. It's not a wisdom born out of humility, where you just absorb the teaching, absorb the recommendation. And unfortunately, no matter how spiritual a person is or isn't, does not change how humble they are or are not. And so the only way you learn from wisdom is by being humble, because you have to soak in the lesson and you have to allow it to manifest inside of you. If your ego is strong, if you're arrogant, you cannot absorb anything. It's like an immune system. It rejects everything, the good and the bad. And so because of that, the only way you can learn as a person with a strong ego is by repeated failure. There is no other way. You just keep failing until you learn your own lesson. You teach it to yourself. You teach yourself the consequences of certain actions. You can argue that this is a stronger lesson because it's yours. You got it. You made it. You figured it out. But how much suffering will you have to tolerate between that initial point and the point of learning? How much time will you waste? And so the spiritual instruction has and always will be humble and listen and study and learn from those that have done this before you, because once you do that, you buy yourself time, you save yourself suffering, and you just progress. At the cost of experience. You missed out on all the fun of putting your hand in the fire. Right? Fun in appearance, suffering in reality. Right? The idea is exciting. The reality, not so much. Yeah. And this is the way Maya works. It presents you interesting ideas, tempting, alluring. Hiranyakashipu was tempted by the idea of becoming the ruler of the three worlds and to become the supreme. The idea of it didn't really pan out the way he wanted. Because once you do that, you inevitably force God to respond, because you're challenging reality. Reality never walks away from that challenge. When you fight the truth fights back. There is only one thing that never dies in this world, and that's the truth. In the Bhagavatam, we speak of Dharma, the bull of Dharma, having 4 legs. And in each of the yugas, he loses one of his legs. And some of those legs are compassion, righteousness. But the one leg that remains standing always, even in the Kali Yuga, is the leg of truth. Truth must always remain. If there is no truth in this world loses its purpose. And so you challenge the truth directly, you're fighting a losing battle. Because Krishna is the protector of that truth. He is the protector of that Dharma. He says so in Bhagavad Gita that he will come again and again to re-establish that truth and that Dharma whenever there is a decline. And he specifically says to protect the good and to destroy the wicked. And so back to the pillar. For Hiranyakashipu, he cannot understand, he cannot see, because he has no actual knowledge, neither does he have the humility to accept the knowledge of others. So he says, I challenge you, where is the God in this pillar? All I see is pillar. All I see is something that I can dominate, control, smash. And so he goes and smashes it, and of course Hiranyakashipu is met by Narasimha, and Narasimha destroys him. On the other hand, Prahlad looks at that pillar, and when he's asked, is your God in this pillar? He says, yes, my God is in that pillar. That pillar is cold, hard, made of stone. And yet he sees God in such a thing. Which is a reminder that God does not only reside inside the beautiful things of life. We tend to look for God in beauty. We tend to look for God as Krishna recommends in chapter 10, when he's listing all of the vibhutis, the magnificent manifestations of this world in which you can see him, you can think of him, conceive of him. But Guruji often, when I listen to Guruji's commentary, when I listen to his satsang, he often pushes beyond that and he says, don't look for God in the good only. Look for God beyond the good, beyond the bad. And that requires you to train yourself. It requires you to proactively seek God in the things you would ordinarily not see him in, such as a stone pillar. Because the stone pillar is that which holds up the building. Similarly, in our lives, our stone pillar is our ego. It's hard, it's cold, and it holds up our life. At least we think it does. And the same way that that pillar got smashed, and from that God came, if we smash the pillar of our ego, from there God will come too. Now the question is, who needs to do the smashing? On the one hand, life can smash it for us. That's Hiranyakashipu. As I mentioned earlier, that can take a really long time. And it can be very painful. If we try to smash it ourselves with our self-work, with our sadhana, with our whatever it may be, we can do it. I don't say we can't. It takes a lot of dedication, discipline, time. But there is a third option, and the third option that is that the pillar gets smashed from within. And this pillar gets smashed from within by, of course, the Lord. But the Lord is sleeping. Narasimha sleeps too, by the way. Narasimha is sleeping within our heart precisely because we do not see, we do not believe that the Lord of Lords, of all might and beauty and love, can reside in such a cold, hard place as our own ego, as our own being. There are so many people in this world that struggle with the opposite of narcissism, with the opposite of self-belief. They have an immense amount of fear, of insecurity. They doubt truly in their hearts and minds whether they are worthy, whether God is truly with them at all times of their life. They will sit and talk with you and they will tell you, no, I know that God is everywhere. I know that God is always with me. But then when they're actually walking their everyday life, when they're going through their struggles, when they're going through whatever it is that they're going through, the doubt will manifest, the doubt will creep up. But is God truly with me every single moment, alive, here, protecting me, with me? And when you see the choices and the behaviors that people make, they speak louder than any words they may tell you over a tea. And it very often is the case that they don't believe because they've never seen it. But if we live like this, if we think like this, if we behave like this, then we are no better than Hiranyakashipu. We only believe what we see, and we have no deep conviction in what lies within. But once we do, for the lucky souls who manage by grace or by repeated failures to learn, to understand that God does reside within us, and He is with us no matter what we do at all times. Not just in the way that He is within everything, but in a very invested way. He cares. To that God, you can ask Him to break the pillar from within, because you're in a relationship with Him, and you will, by grace, manifest His presence evermore. But you need to be like Prahlad as much as you can. You need to be like Prahlad. There is no other way. Prahlad faced every challenge. With the consequence of believing that God is inside of you, it means you must face the challenge well. If the challenge comes and you complain, if the challenge comes and you moan, if the challenge comes and you say, why me? Why not my neighbor? Or the mother-in-law. It's usually the mother-in-law. Then you don't believe that God is with you. You don't believe that God is looking after you. If you truly did, why would you complain? Why would you moan? Why would you resist? You wouldn't. And unfortunately, God speaks many languages, but none more so than the language of intention, and none more so than the language of effort. These two languages, intention, which is an internal language, it's not a verbal communication, it's not a physical communication, it's an inner state, it's a state of consciousness. What is your intention? What is it that you intend to do? What are you in pursuit of? What is your intention? And what is your effort? Meaning, in the many ways that effort can manifest as thought, effort can manifest as speech, and effort can manifest as action. The conjunction of these three, the way these things manifest, they total your effort. When you marry intention and effort together, you produce something. It's like a scientific reaction, chemical reaction. Intention and effort produce sincerity. Sincerity is the outcome. There can be no sincerity if all you have is intention but no effort. There can be no sincerity if all you have is effort but no intentions. When you marry these two, you produce sincerity, and sincerity is all that you can truly offer God. Because you don't control anything else. You cannot offer God outcomes. You cannot say, God, I will do this for you. I will achieve this. I will build you a temple. I will build an ashram for you. I will conquer the world for you. You cannot do this. You cannot promise this. Because you don't control those outcomes. You cannot say, God, I will become a saint. Because you don't control these outcomes. But what you can say is, God, I can only offer you my sincerity that I will do my best. I sincerely wish to build you that temple. I sincerely wish to erect that ashram. I sincerely wish to become a saint. I sincerely wish to do good. And I will show this to you by the consistency of my intention and effort. By the alignment of my intention and effort. And anything other than that is you sending God mixed signals. Anything other than that. It's like you saying, oh, I'm going to do this in your proclamations, but physically you just lie around and do nothing. But they're both part of the joint thing called effort. You cannot give one, withhold the other, and think that God is receiving the message loud and clear. He's receiving the message loud and unclear. You're saying a lot, you're doing a lot, but it's not clear what you mean, what you intend to do. What is it that you're telling me? Because with one foot you take a step forward, with the other foot you take a step back. So where do you want to go? I cannot assist you. I cannot give you grace, which is a propelling energy, a propelling force that moves you closer to what it is that you wish, when I don't know what it is that you wish. And you say to God, but surely you know my heart better than I do myself. But that isn't the point. Because you are not only your heart. You are the totality of your being. And if your heart is pulling in one direction, but every other part of your being is pulling in another direction, who is to say which one he should listen to? And you can tell him, please listen to the rest. You can say that. I've never seen it work. I've never seen it work. I've tried. I said, Guruji, but you know my heart. When he criticizes my behaviors, I use it as an excuse. Guruji, but you know in my heart I mean something else. He says, you know what? Show me. Every time. Show me. And this boils down to something I was sharing last night. He once, not once, many times, said this to me and others. The only reason why you are not realized yet is because you don't want it enough. But I could easily have retorted with, oh, but I do want it. Don't you see? Now the question is, what am I asking him to see? Am I saying I do want it enough because my heart wants it? And what he is saying is not enough is my external behavior of thought, speech, and action? Or is it the reverse? Is it that it looks like I'm saying all the right things, doing all the right things, perhaps even thinking the right things, but actually deep down in my heart, I harbor a desire for something else. I have an unfulfilled dream, an unfulfilled wish, something that is there, signaling, sending out messages to him continuously, saying, but I also want this. And so the problem is that alignment, that coherence, that clarity is not just a nice to have, it becomes a non-negotiable. It's not a nice to have, it's a non-negotiable. You need to have that clarity, otherwise you have no actual forward-moving relationship with God. That doesn't mean you have no relationship. He will always be with you, no matter what. Even if you're an absolute mess, he's with you. Even if you have no clue what to do with your life and you take 10 steps forward and 10 steps back, he's still with you. But he can be with you with his arms crossed, a little impatient, going like, what is wrong with this person? Or he can be with you in a beautifully coordinated dance. Okay? And it all comes down to alignment. If two people are dancing, you can tell whether they're in sync with each other or not within seconds. Because they'll either be stepping on each other's feet or they'll be producing magic. And so I've often experienced what it's like to step on Guruji's feet. And I've experienced Guruji step on mine too. It's when we're dancing together, yes, we're in a relationship, yes, we're in a project, yes, but we're not in sync. And then the question is, well, how do you become in sync? You practice. You watch, you observe, you practice. That's how you get better at anything. So sadhana, 24 hours of yajna. Why not 1 hour? Because we can do 23 more of practice. Right? You just practice. You go again and again, and you repeat, and you create alignment, you create coherence, you create synchronicity. And for that, it always comes back to what it is that we see ourselves as. Are we this cold, hard rock, the pillar, that is erect, holding up this project that is our ego and its dreams? And if we are that, if we identify with that, we see ourselves as that, either on the side of arrogance, we give it too much importance, or on the side of self-deprecation, we think ourselves unworthy of having the love of God. In both ways, one or the other, the outcome is the same. You need to smash that pillar, or have it smashed for you. If you're too egoistic, it will be smashed for you. Not by God, that would be doing you a favor, that would be cheating. He will not cheat on your behalf. Because you need to learn the lesson. If God just comes and corrects every mistake in your life and makes you perfect, but you have actually realized nothing, changed nothing, it is meaningless. You have learned nothing, you have achieved nothing. So he won't do it. That's the truth of it. He won't do it. You can pray all you want. He won't do it. You need to learn. There is no other way. You need to learn and transform yourself. And as I said earlier, please remember this, if anything, from this talk, that there are two ways for you to do this, and you have to pick your one. You must truly learn and truly learn your lessons so that you can attract grace into your life. The grace will then propel you to whatever beautiful outcome God has in mind for you. Become coherent like Prahlad is. Say what you mean, do what you mean, think what you mean, and make that a connection with God, a relationship with God. But to enact all of this change, to learn, there are only two ways. Either the way in which you learn through your repeated mistakes and banging your head against the wall, putting your hand in the fire 20 different ways until finally you say, you should not put your hand in the fire. I have learned that. Right? Or be humble enough to learn from those that have put their hand in the fire before you. take their lesson and move on to the next one, because believe me, there's not just one lesson in life. Like putting the hand in the fire, there are 100 more things like that. And when you move from one domain into the next, that next domain has a whole new set of experts and people that have walked this path before, and a whole new set of temptations for you to either engage with and learn, or resist and progress. Every walk of life has its temptations. Maya is not only knocking on the door of the ashrams. Maya knocks on every door. Maya comes for everybody in every walk of life, whether you have vows or not. It's nothing to do with vows. It's got everything to do with your clarity. What Maya wants to affect is your clarity. And so when you have a clarity of your relationship with God, Maya will come to cast doubt in that clarity, to mess with that by creating other objectives, other desires, other things. And you can take it as a sabotaging principle. Maya is trying to remove your clarity, to compromise you. But you can also take it from the other side. There are always two angles. Either it's the Hiranyakashipu view, the surface only, not the depth, or it's the Prahlad view, the depth and forget about the surface. The other view is that Maya is not compromising me. Maya is not sabotaging me. Maya is stress testing my resolve. Maya is strengthening my muscles. Maya is making me stronger, so that I can then turn around with my convictions tested from a position of absolute sincerity, serve the next person in need. But until you have that tested, until you have your convictions proven, how can you know that you can go and help somebody? How do you know that you can go into the mud and lift someone out of the mud and not get dragged into the mud with the person instead? How do you know? You don't. It's just ego speculation. I sit here on this high horse. I'm going to go down the stairs and pull you up to my exalted position. You reach one hand down and they just pull you down and you're finished. The only time you know that that will not be the case is when you know that your convictions are strong enough to resist anything. And how will you know that if they never get tested? So Maya exists as a necessary function to strengthen you. However, if you're found lacking, then you will give in to the temptation and you will come full circle. You give in to the temptation, it will teach you its lesson, you develop a different kind of strength, and then you come back around to try again, and then that Maya will once again be there, ready to knock on that door and say, round 2, let's go again. Round 3, round 4, round 100, round 1 million. Because we all look at the snapshot of this lifetime. How many of these have we already had? So I'll recall to you a small conversation I had with Guruji. It was great. It was great. Didn't think it was great at the time, but it was great. Okay, this is how it went. This is 21-year-old me, maybe 20. I don't remember. Guruji, I have a dilemma. Great, what's your dilemma? I want 2 things that are not compatible. Wow, what a new dilemma. So what are the 2 things? Well, option 1, I want to have a family. Option 2, I want to be a great monk. Wow, first one ever to have this dilemma, right? And he says to me, so what do you want to do? And I said, oh, well, I want your advice. That's why I'm here. What do you think I should do? He says, I don't know. It's your life. What do you want to do? And I said, well, what I'm thinking is there's only one way I can get the best of both worlds. First, I do the family. And then when I'm done with that, when it gets a bit boring, maybe the kids are like in their 20s, I'll drop that and become a monk. If I do the monk thing first, I can't really drop that and then do the family. That seems less kosher. But, you know, I'll do it the other way around. And he goes, great plan, except for one problem. If you have a dilemma right now, if right now you're already struggling to give up this idea of becoming, a monk, or giving up the family rather to become a monk, how easy do you think it's going to be when you have 20 years of a relationship plus 2 kids that you've raised and whatever else? You think it's going to be easier? And I looked at him and I said, "What depends if I like the kids or not, but probably harder. Probably harder." And he said, "For sure harder. Not impossible, but for sure harder. For sure harder." And I said, okay. This hasn't really helped me much, this conversation, Guruji. Then he says to me, "How about this, Revati? This might be a solution for your problem. How about you become God realized first, and then you can do whatever you want." And I said, "Well, that makes sense. Whatever I want." And he says, "Whatever you want. You become God realized, you can do whatever you want. No rules, no vows, no restrictions, nothing. You're free. No karmic consequences for anything. You got realized." And this got me. I was like, okay, this sounds very good. Now, the reason why it sounded good was not because I was planning to do very sattvic things. I had my Vegas trip planned in my head already, but as a God-realized being, please. As a God-realized being. I don't know whatever you guys are thinking, but I was going there to tell everybody about my Lord and Savior, Paramahamsa Vishwananda. And I go to sleep. Happy with my decision. I'm going to become God realized, and then I'll do whatever I want. And I realized that, okay, what that meant was just full-on dedication to my sadhana, just go crazy to get this God realized stuff quickly, and then so I go to bed, and I'm lying in bed thinking, fantastic, I've got the dilemma solved. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Something feels off. God realized, and I can do whatever I want. Next morning I wake up, and I open one of his books. And I open the book, and it's Guruji talking about the God-realized being. And he says in the book, a God-realized person is one with the will of God. That's all he said. And I'm like, I feel like I've been tricked. So I go knock on Guruji's door, and he says, "Come in," and I go in, and I say, "Guruji, so I have a follow-up question from yesterday. So when I become God realized, I can do whatever I want. Yes?" He says, "Yes." And I said, "But when I'm God realized, I won't want to do anything, will I? I'll just do whatever God wants me to do." And he smiles from ear to ear, and he says, "Yes?" And I say, okay. Well, it feels like a bit of a checkmate, because if I say anything now, I'm basically saying I don't want to do what God wants me to do, right? Which makes this entire project just destroyed right now. So I feel like, okay, let's do this God realization thing. I don't have anything else. I don't have any recourses now. So, okay, Guruji, let's do this God realization thing. What do I have to do to make this happen? And he smiles at me and he says, "You must have no attachments." And I'm like, okay, I think I'll do the monk thing. I was putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Not that it wasn't possible another way, but all he said to me was, "You think it's hard to detach now from your ideas? Wait till those ideas are living, breathing people that you've raised and love." Right? That's all I'm saying. So I was like, okay. But I had to leave that conversation half happy, half sad. The happiness of, okay, I have a direction in life. The sadness of all the experiences that I will not have, all the imaginations that your mind creates in that moment that I will not pursue, right? In order to live that sincerely and consistently. And I laughed to myself as I was walking back to my room. I'm suffering now over the possibility of something happening that I have zero guarantees would even happen. And yet I'm suffering. What a funny thing our minds are. And every day since then, all the years that have passed since then, my mind is always ready. Always ready. If there's a little opening to just say, would you like to suffer again? I can provide you with a new possibility that you're not going to have. I can tell you about this wonderful thing that you could have if only you had not taken the life decisions that you've taken. Can I interest you in this for $9.99? Just, right? Your mind will always do this to you. There will never be a day that it stops doing it to you until the day you become a saint, until the day you become God realized. And so the lesson that I took from all of this and that I'd like to share with everybody is learn to live with it. No matter what situation you're in life. If you're the married person thinking, I should have become a monk, learn to live with your choices. If you're the monk thinking the opposite, learn to live with your choices, because no matter which side of the game you play, you're always going to have this voice in your head telling you, what if? What if I had done that? What if I had done this? What if I do that? What if I still do this? What if I still do that? The realm of possibilities is endless. No matter what choice you make in life, Maya will always have a new project to tempt you with. And so at some point, you need to just get ready to accept the choices you have made and live them properly with the strength of your conviction. And bat them all away and say, this is what I chose, to hell with the rest. And I'm going to make the most of it, because otherwise you spend your whole life worrying about what could have been. And you will do this no matter what position in life you're in. Rich, poor, married, unmarried, it doesn't matter. The what if will kidnap you. And you have too many important things to do in life that are too difficult to waste your time. You have an entire pillar to break. And you don't have the strength of Hiranyakashipu nor the strength of Narasimha. You are a little boy called Prahlad. Okay? And there you are trying to smash this pillar like this. Okay? Not easy. So don't waste your time. I asked Guruji once, Guruji, can you show me Maya? That was the question I asked. He got excited. Yeah, I can. I was like, no, not in the way you're thinking. That excitement in your face, please take that away right now. I don't like it. This is not good. I have this conversation recorded. I'll never release it, but this is not good, Guruji. And he's like, no. I heard you loud and clear. Show me Maya. I will show you Maya. I said, no. That's not what I meant, Guruji. Behave. This is not what I meant. What I meant was, I just want to see it apart from me, not over me, not in my life, just to look at it, so that I can explain it for a book project that I'm writing. This is only research, absolutely. Okay, market research, that's what this is, okay? And so he lost some of the excitement. And then he started getting philosophical. He said, if I were to really show you guys Maya, if I were to really the game would be over. And I was like, what do you mean the game will be over? Because to truly see Maya, it makes you surrender immediately, because you see its limitation also. So the whole point of Maya is that it tempts you by not showing you its limitations. It promises you something that it isn't. That's the whole game of Maya. So to truly see Maya is to abandon it immediately. Similarly, to truly see Krishna is to abandon everything else immediately. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, one who sees me naturally relinquishes all other desires. It's the most natural thing. When you taste something superior to what you've tasted before, you just automatically lose the attachment for the things you had before, because you got something superior. That's how it goes. And so to see Krishna is the end of Maya. To see Maya is ironically also the end of Maya. You understand? So again, it all comes down to we needing to become clear, purified, knowledgeable, wise, and all of this happens either by stubborn repetition of mistakes or humility. Pick your poison. Jai Gurudev.